Hello 5th graders, today we're going to go over how to multiply decimals, how to do multiplications, how to do division, and how to do addition and subtraction. So for the first one, we're going to go over how to multiply decimals, and we're going to find the product of number 1 and number 3. So number 1, it says 0.4 times 0.04. You're just going to place this vertically one on top of another. I like to put the number with a greater number of digits on the top, and the number with a lesser number of digits on the bottom like this. And now, we know that we're multiplying decimals, but we're just going to multiply normally, as if there's no decimal points, as of now. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And then 4 times 0 is 0. Multiplying 0 to 4 to 0 to 0. And we know that if you do that, you're always going to get 0 as your answer. So if you add these, you will get 6100. Now this is when we have no decimal points. So now we know, we're going to add the decimal points since we're done multiplying. So for the first number we have here, we know that the decimal point is 2 left of the right. So I'm just going to write 2 over here. And we know that the second number is just 1 left. So I'm going to put it over here. Now we're going to add these two numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then to your final answer, you're going to move the decimal point 3 to the left. Like this. So your final answer with all the decimal points will be 0.016. So you have to add these two numbers and move the decimal accordingly to your final multiplication process. So your final answer for number 1 should be 0.016. Now that might have been confusing, so we're going to go over number 3 over here. So again, I'm going to place a number with the greater number of digits on the top, which is 0.09. And I'm going to place 0.7 below it. You don't have to align the decimal points as you would usually do when you're adding. Since this is multiplying, you don't need to align them, nor you have to align the place values. So we're going to multiply them normally without the decimal. 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 0 is 0 plus 6, which is 6. And this is 0. And when you multiply them all, you're going to always get 0. So when you add these two, you're going to get 3600. Now again, the same thing when you're placing the values. When you're placing the decimal points, just 2 to the left, 1 to the left. We're going to add these two. We're going to end up with 3. And then we're going to move this 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. So your final answer should be 0.063. And that's your final answer for number 3. So the second section we're going to go over is multiplication, and we're finding the product. Number 2, we're just going to go over number 2. It says 5,634 times 2. So this has no decimal place, so this is relatively easy problems. We're just going to multiply them. So the way you multiply these, I think you already know, but I'm just going to go over it again. So you're going to multiply like this, multiply like this. Like this, you're just basically multiplying 2 to every digit on the top number. So I hope that's a bit not too confusing. So you're basically doing 2 times 4, which is 8. 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 times 2 is 12, but 12 is 2 digits, so we're going to place the 1's digit on here and the 10's digit over here. And then we're going to do 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 1. You're adding the 1's on the top over here. And you'll end up with 11. So your final answer for number 2 should be 11,268. These problems were easy, so I just went over one problem. So your third section we're going to go over is division, and we're finding the quotient. And we're going to go over number 2 and number 4. So number 2, it says 8,435 divided by 5. So when doing division, you always have to have this division mark over here. And you're going to place the second number on the outside and the first number on the inside. So we're going to place 5 on the outside and 8,535 on the inside over here. So we're just going to go one by one. So how many times does 5 go into 8? Well, it goes into 8 one time. 5 times 1 is 5, and you'll be left with 3. So now we're going to bring the next digit down over here, 4 down. And now we have to determine how many times will 5 go into 34. And we know that 5 will go into 34 6 times because 5 times 6 is 30, and we'll be left with 4. So whenever you're subtracting this, you always have to make sure that your subtraction is always less than this number on the outside. So 4 is less than 5, so we're doing everything correctly so far. So we're going to bring down 3 over here. And 5 goes into 43 8 times, because 8 times 5 is 40, and we'll be left with 3. And 3 is less than 5, so that means we're on the right track. It's like a marker to determine if you're on the right track. Now I'm going to bring the 5 down over here. And then 5 goes into 35 7 times, because 7 times 5 is 35, and we're left with 0 remainders. So your final answer for number 2 should be 1,687. Now your number 4, I'm just going to do the same thing. So we're going to place the 1,842 inside this division marker, because it is the first number. And then we're going to place the second number outside of it. So now we're going to first determine if 3 goes into 1. How many times does 3 go into 1? Well, 3 cannot go into 1. You're going to put 0 instead, because 3 times 0 is 0, and we're left with 1. And 1 is less than 3, so we're on the right track. So I'm going to bring the 8 down next. And we know that 3 goes into 18 6 times, because 6 times 3 is 18, so that means we'll end up with 0. So still we're going to continue because we still have digits left. Even though you end up with 0, that doesn't mean you stop right there. So when you bring the 4 down, you're going to multiply. We're going to determine how much 3 go into 4, which is 1. And you'll end up with 1. So you always have to go to the end digit. You always have to finish this division in order to complete the division. 3 goes into 12 4 times. So we're going to place 4 up here, 12 down here, and we'll end up with a 0, which means you'll have a remainder of 0. So your final answer for 4 is 614. Now the final section we're going to go over is addition subtraction. So we're just going to go over number 2 over here. So over here I like to place x for the unknown, since we don't know what this number is going to be. So I'm going to replace it with an x. Since x minus 350 equals 3082. Now, knowing algebra, to isolate x, you'll have to add 350 to both sides. Because since you're subtracting 350 from x, you're going to add 350 to cancel it out. So 350 minus 350, we know that as just 0 because they cancel out. So you'll end up with x on one side, and then you're going to end up with this sum you have to add. So I'm just going to add these right now. 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 5 is 13. 1 plus 0 plus 3 is 4, and you'll end up with 3. So your x value should be 3,432. This goes over here. And that's it for today.